Clinton, Missouri, April 4, 1991. An ordinary Thursday night in a quiet town. Angela Hammond was 20 years old, engaged to her high school sweetheart, Rob Schaefer, 4 months pregnant, working at the local bank, planning a life. The kind of life you build in a small town where people leave their doors unlocked, where things like this simply do not happen. Clinton, Missouri was that town. On the evening of April 4, 1991, Angela spent a few hours at a friend's house, catching up, laughing, the ordinary warmth of a young woman comfortable in her world. Around 11:15 p.m., she left to drop her friend off and headed toward the center of town. She planned to call Rob from the payphone outside a convenience store on Jefferson Street. A single phone lit by a harsh flickering bulb. Everyone in Clinton knew that spot. She dialed. It was 11:22 p.m. Rob heard her voice, casual, easy. She talked about her day, and then something shifted. Angela told Rob about a green Ford pickup truck circling the parking lot. A decal on the back window, a fish jumping out of water. The man driving it looked wrong to her. He parked next to her car, got out, and started searching the lot with a flashlight, looking for something. Rob told her to stay calm, stay cautious. And then Angela said, "He's back." And the line went dead. Oh. Rob Schaefer jumped in his car and drove toward that payphone. Less than 2 miles. He pushed every speed limit Clinton had. As he raced through the empty streets, he saw a pickup truck matching Angela's description coming toward him. He glimpsed the driver, and just possibly, a woman struggling in the passenger seat. He pulled a U-turn. He gave chase. A block into the pursuit, his transmission failed. The truck vanished into the night. Angela Hammond went with it. What investigators found. Police arrived at the payphone quickly. Angela's car was still there, engine running. Her purse inside. Her belongings untouched. The telephone receiver left dangling. Her last lifeline. Now silent. Multiple witnesses recalled the green Ford pickup in the area. They described the fish decal. Nobody knew the driver. A composite sketch was created from Rob's memory. An older white man, glasses, baseball cap. Rob was questioned for hours. His alibi never wavered. He was cleared. The Ford truck with the fish decal was never found. No trace of Angela Hammond, or of her unborn child, has ever been recovered. 33 years later, Clinton, Missouri still carries the weight of that April night. The payphone is long gone. The questions remain. If you have any information about Angela Hammond's disappearance, contact the Clinton Police Department or the Missouri State Highway Patrol. Type Angela to keep her name in this room. Boulder, Colorado, December 26, 1996. Christmas night had fallen softly over Boulder. Inside a grand 3-story house on 15th Street, 6-year-old JONBENÉT Ramsey had been tucked into bed after a festive holiday with her family, her father John, her mother Patsy, her brother Burke. Gifts opened, laughter shared. By all appearances, perfect. Perfection is a fragile thing. In the early hours of December 26th, Patsy Ramsey awoke and walked downstairs to the kitchen. On a back staircase, she found 3 pages of handwritten paper. A ransom note. 3 pages, demanding $118,000, a figure that matched John Ramsey's recent work bonus almost exactly. Warning the family not to call the police. Patsy called the police. At 5:52 in the morning, the Boulder Police Department received the call. Officers arrived within minutes. Friends and neighbors were called. The house filled with people, and that is part of the problem. By the time detectives began working the scene, dozens of people had moved through it. Evidence had been disturbed. A crime scene that needed precision had been walked through by too many people before anyone with forensic authority had taken control. Hours passed, with no contact from the supposed kidnappers. Just after 1 p.m., John Ramsey went to the basement with a friend to search the house. He found JONBENÉT in a small, seldom-used storage room, covered with a white blanket, a cord wrapped around her neck, tape over her mouth. The beauty queen was gone. What the evidence showed. Detectives established cause of death, blunt force trauma to the head, and strangulation. A paintbrush from Patsy's art supplies had been used to construct the garrote. And yet, almost no signs of an intruder. No footprints in the snow outside. No broken windows. No forced entry. The note was oddly theatrical, its phrasing reminiscent of popular films, its demands too precisely calibrated to be a stranger's guess. Suspicion turned immediately toward the family. But DNA found under JONBENÉT's fingernails and on her clothing did not match John Ramsey, Patsy Ramsey, or Burke. The handwriting on the ransom note was inconclusive. Burke Ramsey was cleared by child psychologists. A grand jury convened and failed to indict. In 2008, the Ramsey family was officially cleared by the district attorney after the DNA profile was further analyzed and found to belong to an unknown male. An unknown male, whose DNA has never matched anyone in any database. Patsy Ramsey died of cancer in 2006 without ever knowing who killed her daughter. The case has been scrutinized by media, dissected by investigators, debated on every platform for nearly 3 decades. JonBenét Ramsey's pink bedroom, frozen in time, became a symbol of innocence lost and justice denied. Who took the life of the little girl in the Christmas pageant? The answer is still in the shadows of a house that was once filled with light. If you have any information, contact the Boulder Police Department or the FBI. Type JonBenét to keep her name in this room. Washington, D.C., March 2014. In the heart of the nation's capital, beneath the marble monuments and the rhetoric of justice, 8-year-old Relisha Rudd was living a childhood hidden from view. Relisha's world was the D.C. General Homeless Shelter, a sprawling, aging hospital complex converted into housing for hundreds of families with nowhere else to go. She was a bright, energetic girl, her hair neatly braided, her smile quick to appear even as life pressed in around her. She loved school. She looked after her younger brothers, and the systems that were supposed to protect her failed her completely. By late winter 2014, Relisha had stopped appearing at Payne Elementary School. Teachers noticed her absences. Notes arrived explaining them, signed by a Dr. Tatum, who was reportedly caring for Relisha while she was ill. There was no Dr. Tatum. Khalil Tatum was a 51-year-old janitor at the shelter. He had befriended Relisha's family, given her gifts, tablets, dolls, trips to the pool. He had been allowed to spend time alone with her. And nobody, not her teachers, not her school's administrators, not the social workers assigned to her case, had questioned how much time this man was spending with a child. Oh, every system failed her. Not once. Repeatedly. Over weeks. On March 19, 2014, a social worker finally came looking for Relisha. When school officials tried to reach Dr. Tatum, they were told no one by that name worked at any hospital in the area. By the time authorities were notified, Relisha had not been seen in nearly 3 weeks. What the investigation found: surveillance footage placed Relisha with Tatum at a Holiday Inn Express in Northeast D.C. just days before she vanished. They left together. Relisha was never seen again. Investigators quickly discovered Tatum's criminal record: burglary, larceny. As they pressed in, they found his wife, Andrea Tatum, shot to death in a Maryland motel room in an apparent murder-suicide. Khalil Tatum was found dead in a city park shortly after his own life ended. The only living suspect, gone. Investigators scoured parks, rivers, and abandoned buildings across D.C. Flyers papered the city. Community members joined the search. No clothing. No personal items. No trace of Relisha was ever found. Oh, how could a child disappear so completely in a city full of cameras and law enforcement and watchful eyes? Because the city was not watching. The shelter was not watching. The school was not watching. And a little girl paid for every institutional failure with her life. Relisha Rudd's face is still on missing children's lists. If you have any information about her whereabouts, contact the D.C. Metropolitan Police Department or the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children. Type Relisha to keep her name in this room. Montgomery, Vermont, March 19, 2004. The far northern reaches of Vermont, still winter, Snow thick on the ground. 17-year-old Brianna Maitland was balancing school, 2 jobs, and a season of life that was harder than it looked from the outside. She was bright and artistic, a sly humor that her friends recognized immediately, and she was pushing forward even as something beneath the surface seemed to be troubling her. On Friday, March 19th, she spent the day with her mother, then headed to her evening shift at the Black Lantern Inn in the village of Montgomery. She arrived at 3:30 p.m. She finished around 11:20 that night. She told her coworkers she was heading home to get some sleep before a weekend with friends. She left alone. She stepped out into the cold Vermont night. That was the last time anyone ever saw Brianna Maitland. What the scene showed. The next morning, a faded green 1985 Oldsmobile jutted out from the side of an abandoned farmhouse along a lonely stretch of Route 118, known locally as the Old Dutchburn House. The car had backed into the weathered siding, glass and debris scattered. Inside, Brianna's wallet, her cash, her medication, 2 uncashed paychecks, a loose necklace and some clothes lay on the ground outside. Everything she would have needed. Left behind. Passing motorists noticed the car, but assumed it belonged to trespassers. In rural Vermont, a vehicle at an abandoned house was not unusual. Several people even photographed it and kept driving. It was 4 days before police connected the car to Brianna. 4 days. The investigation. Search dogs picked up her scent, then lost it in the cold. No blood. No obvious evidence of violence. No sign that Brianna had left on her own. Detectives learned that Brianna had recently moved out of her mother's home, was staying with friends, and had mentioned tension in her social circle. Fights, jealousy, possible threats. Some speculated she had planned to meet someone that night. Others raised the possibility of connections to local drug activity. But no theory explained the car angled against the old farmhouse wall. In 2022, new DNA testing was conducted on evidence from the scene. Results have not led to a public answer. Witnesses recalled seeing Brianna's car parked at the farmhouse as early as 12:30 in the morning, just an hour after she left work. Others remembered headlights nearby. A pale figure standing near the trunk. Nothing concrete. The old Dutchburn house stands in ruins now. Silent witness to one of Vermont's most haunting mysteries. If you have any information about Brianna Maitland, contact the Vermont State Police. Type Brianna to keep her name in this room. Stop right here. 5 more cases to go, and the wait only increases. You are about to hear the story of a newlywed who vanished from an Atlanta parking lot while her credit card was used 400 miles away. A young woman whose car was found abandoned and still running in a dangerous neighborhood she had never been seen in before. A 20-year-old mother whose 61 seconds of recorded fear in a stranger's car are the only clue her family has ever had. A young woman who left a nightclub in one of England's safest cities and whose remains were found 13 years later wrapped in bin bags on a motorway. And an 8-year-old girl who vanished between her apartment door and the elevator on a summer morning in a building with hundreds of residents and was simply never seen again. These cases deserve to stay in the light. Not to fade, not to become footnotes. Subscribe, so that when new developments emerge in any of these cases, you hear about them here. Like. Tell the world that cases like these deserve to be seen and remembered. Share. Someone you know may have a connection to one of these cases that they do not even realize matters. Type subscribed. We keep going. Atlanta, Georgia, October 14, 1965. Atlanta, 1965. The city humming with the early energy of a place becoming something new. 25-year-old Mary Shotwell Little was a secretary at the Citizens and Southern Bank. Newly married, just 6 weeks into life with her husband Roy, who worked out of town. That Thursday, she had dinner plans with a co-worker at Lenox Square Shopping Center, one of Atlanta's bustling new malls. Mary was cheerful, responsible, a little shy. Friends described her as the kind of person who showed up exactly when she said she would. After dinner, she lingered in the parking lot, chatting, comfortable. She told her friend she would see her at work in the morning. She stepped into the night. Mary was never seen again. What investigators found. The following day, her car was found in the Lenox Square parking lot. Doors locked. Driver's seat adjusted for her height. Inside, her purse, shopping bags, uneaten groceries. Her keys were missing, and there was blood smeared across the driver's seat, on her underwear, on a pair of stockings discarded nearby, a single glove on the ground, as if dropped in haste. In 1965, before DNA analysis, these traces offered little but dread. Detectives gathered conflicting witness accounts. Some reported seeing Mary leaving with a well-dressed man. Others claimed they saw a woman fitting her description in the parking lot near midnight, disoriented, accompanied by an unknown male. A witness placed her at a nearby gas station early the next morning. None of these accounts were ever confirmed. And then, a strange twist that this case has never fully explained. Mary's bank credit card was used twice after her disappearance. Once in Charlotte, North Carolina. Once in Raleigh. Both within hours of when she vanished from that parking lot. Receipts showed her signature, but the handwriting looked shaky. Witnesses at the gas stations remembered a woman who seemed anxious, traveling with two men. The trail ended there. Her husband Roy passed multiple polygraph tests and was never connected to the crime. In the years that followed, another young woman from Mary's office was killed under mysterious circumstances, a detail that has never been adequately explained in the public record. More than half a century later, the question still lingers in Atlanta's air. What happened to Mary Shotwell Little on that autumn night? If you have information, contact the Atlanta Police Department's Cold Case Unit. Type Mary to keep her name in this room. St. Louis County, Missouri, December 18, 2011. A cold Sunday afternoon in Spanish Lake. The holidays just days away. 23-year-old Phoenix Coldon was a young woman living between two worlds. At home, she was sheltered, church-going, devoted to her parents Goldia and Lawrence. Online and in private, she maintained aliases, secret Facebook profiles, friendships her parents had never met. She was dating, possibly, without their knowledge. That afternoon, she spent a few hours watching television with her mother. Around 3 p.m., she put on her black hoodie, grabbed her car keys, and said she was going out for a drive. She left without her glasses, without her purse, without her phone charger, details her mother would recall again and again for years. Phoenix Coldon backed her black 1998 Chevy Blazer out of the driveway and drove away. She was never seen again. What investigators found? At 5:27 p.m., just over 2 hours after Phoenix left home, her Chevy Blazer was found abandoned in East St. Louis, Illinois, about 25 minutes from her house, a neighborhood Phoenix had no known ties to. A rough, dangerous area where nothing about her presence made sense. The engine was still running. The driver's door was open. Inside, her purse, her ID, her shoes, her keys and her cell phone were missing. All. Investigators arrived, but the car was towed before detectives could process it for evidence. Precious time and forensic opportunity lost in a single administrative failure. There were no witnesses, no surveillance footage, no signs of a struggle. Tips came from across the country. Sightings in California, rumors of human trafficking, claims that Phoenix had joined a religious group and started a new life. Every one of them led nowhere. Her mother Goldia became the public face of the search. She hired private investigators, appeared on television, consulted psychics. She never stopped believing that Phoenix is alive somewhere. The idling Chevy Blazer, left on a quiet street in East St. Louis, is the last concrete evidence of where Phoenix was. And even that scene was compromised before it could fully speak. If you have information about Phoenix Coldon, contact the St. Louis County Police Department. Type Phoenix to keep her name in this room. Nisku, Alberta, Canada, August 18, 2010. 20 years old. A proud member of the Mikisew Cree First Nation. A devoted young mother to her 14-month-old son Jacob. Quick to smile, always ready to help family. Amber Tuccaro was visiting Edmonton with her son and a friend. Excited for a change of pace, looking forward to something new. The group checked into a motel in Nisku, a rural community just outside the city. Late that afternoon, Amber told her friends she wanted to go into Edmonton. She left Jacob with her friend and accepted a ride from an unknown man. She was last seen climbing into that vehicle. The RCMP's response when her family called was to tell her mother to wait 24 hours. Amber was probably out partying. Precious hours slipped away. The 61 seconds. 2 years after Amber vanished, the RCMP made a public appeal unlike any they had made before. They released a 61-second audio recording. On the tape, Amber's voice, tense but composed. She questions the driver. She presses him for details. Her suspicion grows as the car winds down unfamiliar roads. And then she says what has stayed with her family ever since. "You better not be taking me anywhere I don't want to go." The man's voice replies, calm, steady, almost casual. "You're going to the city." 61 seconds. The only known clue to Amber Tuccaro's fate. The voice of a young mother who knew something was wrong, but was already too far from the door. The driver has never been identified. In September 2012, hikers found partial human remains in a wooded area near Leduc County, just miles from where Amber was last seen. Dental records confirmed what her family had feared. Amber had been found, but the man on the tape had not. The 2018 inquiry revealed that the RCMP had mishandled the investigation from the beginning. Delays, lost evidence, mishandled leads. Amber's family was forced to relive the pain as the public learned how badly the system had failed her. Her mother's voice, unyielding and determined, has kept this case in the national spotlight ever since, fighting not just for Amber, but for all missing and murdered Indigenous women across Canada. If you have information that could identify the voice on that recording, contact the RCMP or the Alberta Law Enforcement Response Teams. Type Amber to keep her name in this room. Bath, England, June 8, 1996. Bath, England, a city famous for its Roman baths and Georgian terraces, one of the safest places in the United Kingdom. 25-year-old Melanie Hall had recently started a job at the Royal United Hospital. She was dependable, warm, well-loved. She had a steady boyfriend. On this particular Saturday night, she wanted to dance. The group went to Cadillac's nightclub. The mood was lively. Melanie in a black dress and heels, laughing with friends on the dance floor. Around 1:10 in the morning, she and her boyfriend argued. He left the club. Melanie stayed. Just after 2 a.m. witnesses saw her for the last time, seated alone on a bar stool near the entrance, quietly waiting as the club began to empty. And then Melanie Hall was gone. The 13-year silence. Sunday morning. Melanie did not come home. No one remembered seeing her leave. No one saw her get into a taxi. No witnesses. Limited CCTV. A city full of people, and no record of where she went. Police scoured Bath, interviewed doormen, taxi drivers, patrons, spoke to known offenders in the region, followed rumors of men seen near the club, cars idling at the curb, strangers offering lifts. 13 years of silence. And then, in October 2009, a workman clearing brush off the northbound slip road of the M5 motorway near Thornbury, approximately 25 miles from Bath, found human remains, wrapped in black bin bags, tied with blue rope. Forensic testing confirmed it was Melanie Hall. The location suggested she had been left there not long after her disappearance, hidden just out of sight of passing cars. The way she was concealed pointed clearly to murder. DNA evidence was recovered from the crime scene. It has never matched any profile in any law enforcement database. Dozens of suspects have been questioned over the years. Several men were arrested. All were later released. Melanie Hall's murder remains unsolved. If you have information, contact Avon and Somerset Police. Type Melanie to keep her name in this room. Mason City, Iowa, June 27, 1995. It was barely light when the phone rang in the newsroom at KIMT-TV. Jodi Huisentruit, the station's 27-year-old morning anchor, had not arrived for her 6 a.m. broadcast. It was out of character. Jodi was known for her punctuality, her bright on-air presence, her genuine warmth. Her colleagues assumed she had overslept. A producer called her at 4:10 a.m. Jodi answered, apologetic, groggy, and promised she would be at the studio soon. She never made it. Jodi's red Mazda Miata was in the parking lot of her apartment complex. But the scene around it told a troubling story. Her high heels, her hair dryer, her earrings, her car keys, scattered around the vehicle. The driver's seat was adjusted for her height. A bent car key lay on the ground. Drag marks were visible in the dew-soaked grass. Neighbors reported hearing a scream just before sunrise. No witnesses, no surveillance footage, no blood, no sign of forced entry into her car. And Jodi Huisentruit, gone. What investigators found. Police processed the parking lot. The personal items strewn on the ground. One of Jodi's earrings, torn from her ear. Faint impressions of shoe prints and tire marks nearby. The investigation became national news. Friends, family, and volunteers searched fields, riverbanks, and woodlands. Tips poured in from across the Midwest. In the days before she disappeared, Jodi had confided in friends that she felt uneasy, that someone might be following her. Her personal journal noted a sense of being watched. Detectives examined everyone in her orbit. Some wondered about a local man reportedly obsessed with Jodi. Others suspected a stranger had been watching her, lurking in the darkness of that early morning. Jodi Huisentruit has never been found. More than 30 years later, her case remains one of Iowa's most enduring mysteries. Billboards, anniversary vigils, national television specials. The parking lot off Kentucky Avenue sits quietly now. What happened to the promising young anchor on her way to work? Who silenced her voice before the morning news could begin? If you have any information, contact the Mason City Police Department. The case remains open. Type Jodi to keep her name in this room. 9 cases, 9 ordinary nights. A payphone left dangling in Clinton, Missouri. A pink bedroom frozen in time in Boulder, Colorado. A shelter in Washington, D.C., where a little girl was failed by every system that should have saved her. A farmhouse in rural Vermont, where a car sat backed into the siding for 4 days before anyone called it in. An Atlanta parking lot, where a credit card told a story that nobody has ever fully explained. A Chevy Blazer left running in a neighborhood its owner had no reason to be in. 61 seconds of recorded fear in a car on a Canadian highway. A bar stool near the entrance of a Bath nightclub, empty at closing time. A parking lot in Mason City, Iowa. Dew-soaked grass, drag marks, a bent car key, and silence. These are not just cold cases. They are the permanent record of what happens when a night turns, in a single moment, and nobody can stop it. They are the reason this community exists. To keep saying these names, to keep asking these questions, to refuse the silence that cold cases depend on. Because cases get solved when people keep talking. Angela, JONBENÉT, Relisha, Brianna, Mary, Phoenix, Amber, Melanie, Jodi. Type every name you remember from this video, right now. In the comments, type your country and city. Type Amen. For the families who have been carrying these questions for years, some for decades, and have not stopped. Subscribe, because when one of these cases breaks, when a tip leads somewhere, when a suspect is named, when a family finally gets an answer, you want to be here. Family, I love you. Every single one still watching, still asking, still refusing to let these names fade. 9 ordinary nights. 9 families still waiting. Keep going. Keep going. I'll see you in the next one. God bless. I'm Marcus Webb, and if you're new here, subscribe and join us. Like, share, and be part of the family.